Good day, students. I'll welcome you all to another discussion for this subject, construction materials testing. And we are already on our sixth week, so this will be our first lesson for the week. Now, so for the last week, no, sa ato ang discussion or last week sa our last meeting na to, no, we'll have three topics in total. So, kani siya will be the first one. Okay. So for this topic, we are going to talk about the concrete hollow blocks or our CHB. So a concrete block is primarily used as a building material in the construction of walls. It is sometimes called a concrete masonry unit or CMU. A concrete block is one of several precast concrete products used in construction. The term precast refers to the fact that the blocks are formed and hardened before they are brought to the job site. Most concrete blocks have one or more hollow cavities, and their sides may be cast smooth or with a design. In use, concrete blocks are stacked one at a time and held together with fresh concrete mortar to form the desired length and height of the wall. The concrete commonly used to make concrete block is a mixture of powdered Portland cement, water, sand, and gravel. This produces a lightweight gray block with a fine surface texture and a high compressive strength. In general, the concrete mixture used for blocks has a higher percentage of sand and a lower percentage of gravel and water than the concrete mixtures used for general construction purposes. This produces a very dry, stiff mixture that holds its shape when it is removed from the block mold. Okay, still on raw materials now that we used in manufacturing concrete hollow blocks. So lightweight concrete blocks are made by replacing the sand and gravel with expanded clay, shale, or slate. Expanded clay, shale, and slate are produced by crushing the raw materials and heating them up to about 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. At this temperature, the material bloats or puffs up because of the rapid generation of gases caused by the combustion of small quantities of organic material trapped inside. A typical lightweight block weighs 22 to 28 pounds and is used to build non-load bearing walls and partitions. Expanded blast furnace slag, as well as natural volcanic materials such as pumice and scoria, are also used to make lightweight blocks. In addition to the basic components, the concrete mixture used to make blocks may also contain various chemicals called admixtures. Admixtures are used to alter the curing time, increase the compressive strength, or improve the workability of your CHB material. The mixture may have pigments added to give the blocks a uniform color throughout, or the surface of the blocks may be coated with a baked-on glaze to give a decorative effect or to provide protection against chemical attack. The glazes are usually made with a thermosetting resinous binder, silica sand, and color pigments. So there are two types, no, of concrete hollow blocks that we usually use. That is first, no, the load bearing concrete hollow blocks, and then second type is the non-load bearing concrete hollow blocks. Okay, so when do we use which? Okay, so as mentioned earlier, now that we use concrete hollow blocks in the construction of our walls. Okay, so load bearing walls support the weight of a floor or roof structure above and are so named because they can support a significant amount of weight. By contrast, the second type, the non-load bearing wall, sometimes called a partition wall, is responsible only for holding itself up, plus a few lightweight items like shelves, pictures, and interior doors. So, kibali mo na siya ang distinction, no, sa kaning duha ka type sa ato ang hollow block, which is the load bearing and then the non-load bearing. So, same no with other construction materials and also the speculator standard specification. No? So, when we talk also about concrete hollow block or concrete masonry units, no, we also have standard specification that we follow, and all of that are based on the ASTM standard. Okay, so for concrete masonry units, both non-load bearing and load bearing, we have ASTM C129 or the standard specification for non-load bearing concrete masonry units, and ASTM C90 kung load bearing po siya. So we are going to talk about each of this specification. So first we talk about the standard specification for non-load bearing concrete masonry units or ASTM-C 129. Okay, so this specification covers hollow and solid non-load bearing concrete masonry units made from Portland cement, water, and mineral aggregates with or without the inclusion of other materials. These units are intended for use in non-load-bearing partitions, but under certain conditions they may be suitable for using in non-load-bearing exterior walls above grade where effectively protected from the weather. Okay? So, ang composition sa ato ang non-load-bearing concrete masonry units or CHB is tulo lang kabok, no? First is your cementitious material, which can be Portland cement, blended cement, hydrated lime, and pozzolan. Then second, ano niya no, ingredient niya is the aggregates na it could be classified as normal weight aggregates and lightweight aggregates. No? And also added to the composition of our concrete masonry units or CHB is the other constituents rather like air entraining agents, coloring pigments, integral water repellents, are finely ground silica or mga admixtures na siya na generally. Okay? So, when you say po non-load bearing concrete masonry units, no, pwede nimo na siya i-classify based sa iyahang weight. Okay? And also based sa standard specification set forth by ASTM. Okay, so natay tulo ka classification by weight no sa atong non-load bearing CMU, concrete masonry units or CHB no. Nadi ang lightweight, medium weight, and normal weight. So when you say lightweight, ang iyahang density ana no or the oven dry weight of concrete is less than 105 pounds per cubic foot no kung inana ang oven dry weight sa imong concrete no then it is considered as lightweight. Pero pag ang iha ganing oven dry weight of concrete is 105 to less than kibali greater than 105 pounds per cubic foot but less than 125 pounds per cubic foot, then it is considered or it is classified or your CMU is classified as medium weight. And then, kung yung oven dry weight of your concrete diya sa imong CMU is greater than 125 pounds per cubic foot, then it is considered as or classify siya as a normal weight CMU. So next is on the dimensions and the permissible variations. Okay? So muna siya ang mga nakaspecify no sa ASTM C129. First, no, on the dimensions and permissible variations, minimum face shell thickness shall not be less than 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. And secondly, no overall dimensions such as width, height, and length shall differ by more than plus minus 1/8 inch from the specified standard dimension. So when we talk about non-load bearing CMU or concrete masonry units, the one that we call specified standard dimensions are the dimensions provided by the manufacturers. Okay, so if you talk about non-load bearing CMU lang. Okay, and the typical size of concrete hollow blocks in the Philippines is 16 inches ang iyang length. No, kaya like kaning ano yan dito designated by here. You just have to refer to this figure here no sa imong left side. So usual no or typical size or typical length sa imong CHB is 16 inches and then with a height of 8 inches and then ang iyang width could either be 2, 4, 6, and 8 inches. Okay? And as to the strength requirements no, for the non-load bearing CMU or concrete masonry units, the average of your three units shall have a minimum of compressive strength of 600 psi or 4.14 megapascal. And then for the individual unit, okay, it should have a minimum of 500 psa compressive strength or 3.45 megapascal. So there are two common test methods also provided by ASTM as to the method of sampling and testing for our non-load bearing concrete masonry units. We have there the test method C140 and then test method C426. So all of these are provided by ASTM. No, so when you say test method C140, that is the standard test methods for sampling and testing concrete masonry units and related units. So what are the tests, no, that are applicable for our concrete masonry units na upat ka buok? First is of course is the sampling. Then second is the measurement of dimensions, the determination of the compressive strength rather, and the absorption. So among others pod no actually just pick this four kay mura ni siyang applicable for the CMU or the concrete masonry units. And then for the related units, there is still a long list after this. No, but then again, we focused on the testing of concrete masonry units. Okay. Second, also standard na set forth by ASTM is test method C426 or the standard methods for linear drying shrinkage of concrete masonry units. Okay. So those were the provisions under ASTM 129, no, or the standard specification for non-load bearing concrete masonry units. Now we proceed to the ASTM C90 or the standard specification for load bearing concrete masonry units. Okay, so this specification covers hollow and solid concrete masonry units made from hydraulic cement, water, mineral aggregates with or without the inclusion of other materials. Concrete masonry units covered by this specification are made from lightweight or normal weight aggregates or both. Okay? As to the composition of our load-bearing concrete masonry units, naitay tulo ka klase na first is of course is the cementitious materials. It can either be Portland cement, modified Portland cement, blended hydraulic cement, and pozzolans. Okay. Second is the aggregates, and it can either be normal weight or lightweight aggregates, and of course the other constituents na, that includes admixtures. As to the physical requirements for our load-bearing concrete masonry units, no, based sa ASTM C190 is presented in the table or presented in table 1. Okay, so just have to refer on these figures given or provided, no, as to the nominal width, the face, shell thickness, and then the web thicknesses. Okay, so mo lang, we just have to base here sa kaning table. Next is of course now the strength requirements. Okay, so table 2 presents the strength, absorption, and density classification requirements for our load-bearing concrete masonry units. Okay, so we have here a column for density classification of our CMU units. CMU are concrete masonry units. No, it can either be lightweight, medium weight, and normal weight. No, and then na po siya corresponding oven dry density of concrete, and then we have here maximum water absorption in terms of pounds per cubic foot. Okay, we have also an average a value for the maximum water absorption for all the three, or the average of three, which is 18, 15, 13 pounds per cubic foot for classification of lightweight, medium weight, and normal weight respectively. Okay, you also have values for maximum water absorption for individual units, which is 20, 17, 15 pounds per cubic foot for lightweight, medium weight, and normal weight respectively. And then we also have the values for the minimum net area compressive strength in terms of pounds per square inch. Okay, for the average of the three units, for all types of classification, we have it should have a minimum compressive strength of 1,900 pounds per square inch. And kung average na siya for 3 units na. And then for individual, kung itas siya individual, it shall have a minimum compressive strength of 1,700 pounds per square inch, okay, or an equivalent to 11.7 megapascal. Okay. Now we talk about DPWH standard specification for masonry work. Okay, so after the discussion of the ASTM provisions as to the standard specification and then standard test methods no, for our CHB, we now proceed to this item. Okay, item 10,046 or the DPWH standard specification for masonry work. So, sa difference ani niya ni ASTM is that naa siya kanang provision as to the construction requirements no, sa ato ang masonry works. Okay? So, the description, so this item or item 1046 no, shall consist of furnishing of all necessary materials, tools, equipment, and laboratory and labor rather necessary to complete the execution of the masonry works using concrete hollow blocks and louver blocks on the plans and herein specified. Okay, so we have so in creating our masonry or as we work on our masonry, no, ang part is muna siya mga material requirements. We have here the of course, the hydraulic cement shall conform to the requirements of item 700 hydraulic cement, and then aggregates, and it shall conform to the applicable requirements of item 405 or your structural concrete. Then your water, it shall conform to the requirements of item 714 or water. We also have reinforcing steel, your mortar, and of course your concrete hollow blocks and the louver blocks. So somehow these six materials are composed or makes up our masonry works. Okay. So as to the material requirements for load-bearing concrete hollow blocks, it shall conform to the physical requirements of the table as prescribed in ASTM C90. So kani siya nga table can also be found dito sa ASTM C90. So kibali si DPWH or through the blue book or the standard specification of DPWH, it just simply adapted what was specified or what was stated in the ASTM provisions. Okay, so that is why we really focus more on the standard specification and also generally the standards set forth by ASTM. Okay. And then for the load-bearing concrete hollow blocks, it shall conform to the physical requirements as to the oven dry weight, density, the maximum water absorption, and then the minimum net area compressive strength, no? As again prescribed in the ASTM C90. So same ra gyapon no ang gi-adapt ni DPWH diha sa iyang masonry works. Okay. And also for the material requirements no for non-load bearing concrete hollow blocks, um, it shall be clearly marked to prevent their use as load bearing units. Okay, so with as to the weight classification and as to the strength requirements, still kana sila no are adopted no from the ASTM provisions, ASTM C190 and 129, ASTM C90 and ASTM 129. And you also have for the material requirements no na siya provisions sa other constituents no like admixtures in the form of air and training agents, color pigments, integral water repellents, finely ground silica, and other constituents. Okay. So also provided there is a standard specification on the DPWH for masonry works or your item 1046 na dihay inclusion of the construction requirement. Okay, from mixing of your concrete no up until sa molding, okay, molding and also molding no for your concrete masonry units or your CHB up until sa standard specification for curing no of your both of your CHB and your louver blocks. And also, no, aside from the construction requirements, is the provision no, CDPWH as to the masonry works or item 406 with respect to the installation of your concrete masonry units or your CHB. So, okay, bale, this is a step-by-step procedure no, on how to properly install your CHB or concrete masonry units diha sa imuhang masonry works. Okay? And also, no, napuntay provisions as to the reinforcement for your CHB. Okay, reinforcement shall be done in accordance with the structural plans as to size, spacing, and other requirements of item 404 or your reinforcing steel under section 404.3 construction requirements. Reinforcement shall be clean and free from loose, rust, scales, and any coatings that will reduce bond. Okay, so diha mo sa itong masonry works, no? Na diha ang atong CHB, no? As we create no or construct our wall na diha ang CHB, and then of course no the reinforcement and also the mortar. So all of those components that makes up or that make up the masonry works, nagid siya specification stated diri sa item 1046 under the PWH standard specification. Okay, and also nagyapon siya specification in terms of your finish and the appearance of your wall no, or masonry wall. Okay, so one of that is all units shall be sound and free of cracks or other defects that interfere with the other with the proper placement of the unit and significantly impair the strength or permanence of the construction. Minor cracks incidental to the usual method of manufacture or minor chipping resulting from customary methods of handling and shipment and delivery are not grounds for rejection. Okay. And then still continuation and the finish and appearance. Okay. Now we proceed to the sampling and testing of CHB and our louver blocks. Okay. So method for sampling for quality test shall be as follows. Number one, the first, one quality test for every 10,000 units or fraction thereof. And then 6 specimens are to be submitted for one quality, in which 3 specimens for compression test, and the remaining 3 are for moisture content determination and water absorption characteristics. Okay, units shall be tested in accordance to ASTM-C 140 and ASTM-C 426. And also natin provision on how to properly store no, and handle our masonry works. Okay, so the blocks or masonry units. Okay, so the blocks are to be stored in such a way as to avoid contact with moisture at site. Okay, they shall be stockpiled on planks or other supports free from contact with ground and covered to protect against wetting. The block shall be handled with care and damaged units shall be, of course, rejected. Okay, and the method of measurement na yun, no, per square meter. Okay, so I also have here no, a video nga nag-conduct siya og concrete hollow block compressive strength test based on the ASTM-C 140. Okay, so we'll watch this during our synchronous class, or you can watch it ahead of time no, during this asynchronous class. Okay. Then again, this is the references that I have used as I created this lecture note. Okay, so that would be all for this morning and also for this discussion. No? I'll see you on our next asynchronous and synchronous class. That would be all. Thank you so much, and then you may enjoy the rest of the day.